Yo, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to Module 7. Today we're going to learn how to become unfuckwithable, and really the whole concept of equanimity, which basically means being unfuckwithable, being able to ride the waves of life, being able to not be deterred by whatever the external circumstances might be, always having your center and not repressing your emotions, but being able to ride the waves of your emotions in a way that you don't get disturbed. Your center doesn't get disturbed. And a lot of that is going to come down to growing your awareness and training your focus. So I've got 5 steps for you today that going to teach you how to be unfuckwithable. And honestly, this is a concept that I learned like very early on, and I didn't even realize it. I remember, I think I was like 14. I maybe even been earlier than that. But I was, my cousin, I was hanging out. You know, the best stories always start with your cousin, by the way. But my cousin and I would hang out a lot because I think my mom would like babysit us or watch us or whatever, but we'd be hanging out a lot. And I remember he would always get worked up about the smallest little thing, like anything that didn't go the way he wanted it to go. He would get just overly angry or upset or whatever. And I found myself doing the same thing too, because we were hanging out together. So it kind of seemed natural to also get pissed off or get upset when things didn't go the way I wanted them to. And I was naturally like a pretty chill dude, if you can't tell. I'm like a pretty chill dude. So it didn't really, I didn't really get worked up about a lot of things. But I remember like one of the first kind of sayings that just kind of came naturally to me was like, oh well, whatever happened that maybe didn't go the way I planned it or whatever, is just like, oh well. And I remember I would say it so much that my cousin would get pissed off just because I was like essentially, downplaying the way that he was feeling, because I'd be like, oh well. But after a while, he started saying it too. And when I noticed the shift in him, because whenever something would happen, at first it started with smaller things where it's like, oh well, and we kind of made a joke of it. And then it would, it kind of started to happen with more intense things or bigger things, that he also started to adopt that. And so I thought it was cool. And again, I didn't even realize that I was practicing this, but that little phrase, which there's a lot of different tools that you can use, as we'll get into, but just that little phrase like that is something like acts as a symbol to shift your focus. Because like whenever you're in a moment, and I was like, oh well, then it was automatic shift in my focus of what I was choosing to focus on. I was choosing to focus on, well, it's really not a big deal. I can make it a big deal, but it's really not a big deal. Oh fucking well. Oh well. So I kind of have similar things that I use to this day, because again, it's a powerful tool. Just that shift. And as you're going through this training, you'll probably see more and more that it's really kind of this accumulation of all of these little tools and all these little tactics that you can continue to practice over and over and over again. Because it's really, in my experience, like, is really not this big, profound, like, brain blown concepts that shift things. It's really these small little tools, these small little practices that are used consistently. That's the key word in all of this: consistency. Used consistently, just over and over and over and over again, until they kind of rewire the network. Like you think about like a river, if you just imagine like a big flood of water that just splashed through a mountainside or a landscape. It wouldn't necessarily, it might, do some damage, but it wouldn't necessarily form a river. But if you think about like a little trickle that turns into a little stream that's just consistent, day after day, minute after minute, hour after hour, the little trickle turns into a stream, which then turns into eventually turns into a whole river. Just that continuous persistence and consistency over and over and over again. So that's really what it comes down to. And a lot of things, honestly, if you have trouble understanding or kind of needing answers to things in life, just look at nature. Nature teaches you a lot of things. That's why, that's where we came from. So like the principles are the same. So that's why I like to relate a lot of things to nature, because a lot of those principles are the same in the way that we experience life, because again, we are a product of nature. All right. So step one in this process of becoming unfuckwithable is meditation. And there's a lot of different kinds of meditation, but really it's about growing your awareness as a general principle. So when you're first starting out, the kind of meditation that you do really doesn't matter that much, in my experience. There's different kinds, you do seated meditation, you could do, focusing on your breathing, you could do mantras. And if you go watch my module 6, I believe it is, if you go watch module 6, then I break down the whole concept of like meditation and different tools and practices and things like that, like Tai Chi. So you can go watch that, and that'll kind of build into this one. And that's how all these modules are, by the way. So if you're like coming in this right now at module 7 and you haven't watched all the other ones, I'd invite you to go back to 1, because they all are meant to build on each other. And they kind of like, we start getting deeper and deeper. So if you don't have the context of the previous modules, then you may get, we may be talking about some things that may not completely make sense, although they're meant to be standalone as well. So if this one calls to you, then go ahead and listen to it, but you might want to then go back. Okay. So meditation is really all about cultivating awareness, because when you're meditating, you are really just emptying yourself, but not even just emptying yourself. You're just allowing yourself to witness what's going on. Because like all day we're thinking and thinking and thinking, and all these things are happening. We have all this different stimulus going on. We're looking at our phone, we're engaging in our phone, and other, like relationships and conversations and all kinds of things. And if that's all we do all the time, then our sense of self gets wrapped up in all of those things. It gets wrapped up in our thoughts. It gets wrapped up in what's going on social media, or it gets wrapped up in what's going on in the world. It gets wrapped up in what's going on in our relationships. And when we do that, then our centeredness, our ability, our kind of our grounding force within ourselves becomes dependent upon what's going on outside of us. And that's not a very great place to be, because the things going on outside of you are constantly shifting and constantly changing, because it's things that you don't necessarily have control over, because it's things that are predicated on other people, on how other people are choosing to react or respond. And if you're living your life based on how other people are reacting or responding or behaving, then you're going to set yourself up for a lot of disturbances to your mental, emotional state. And so the practice of meditation brings that all back in. And over time, you begin to develop this witness. I always hold my hand up like this to symbolize, but it's like this dude, he's hanging out around over here, just wherever, but he's witnessing. There's a witness to what's going on. And this kind of moves into step 2, where once you begin to develop that witness, and you can see more and more of what's going on in your internal and external landscape without getting attached to it, you kind of start to develop this, not that you're dissociating yourself, but you develop this detached awareness. You're not attached to all of it. You can see all of it. Just like if you imagine being in the center of a tornado. This is another analogy. If you're in the center of the tornado, it's quiet and it's still, and you have this, you're viewing from the detached vantage point where you're able to see everything that's going on around you. But if you jump in the tornado, then you're just swirling around with everything else. And it's hard to actually see what's going on because you're just in the thick of it all. So the process of meditation helps to cultivate the centeredness, to being in the quiet, still center of the tornado in your life. Because the chaos is always going to be there. The goal isn't to get rid of all the chaos. We always think like, oh, if I just get this taken care of, I just get more money, if I just do this or just get this new job, it's like, then things will be good. Then things will be good. Then things will be good. But no, the paradoxically, the most important time to be able to maintain your centeredness is when the shit is at its most chaotic. And this is why you meditate. Okay? So that moves into step 2. Once you develop this detached awareness, now you're able to start to turn what is subjective, meaning like you're attached to it. Like if you say I, that is your subject. Everything that you identify with as I, as me, that is your subject. But through that process, you're able to turn the subjective into the objective. And like the objective is, think like an object. I can hold it, I can see it. It is something that is outside of me. And a big paradox, I'm full of paradoxes here. A big paradox is that the more you grow your awareness through the process of meditation, which again, by the way, go watch module 6, listen to module 6 to get deeper into that. But when it comes to meditation, even like just a consistent practice of 5, 10, ideally 20 minutes, honestly. But even anything is better than nothing, but a consistent practice. But the goal is to ultimately turn meditation into your entire day, your entire life. As people think about, oh, I go meditate, and then I go do all my other stuff, and then I just re-engage. But really, the practice of meditation is so that you cultivate that awareness, so then you can bring that to the rest of your life. So then in essence, over time, it's like your whole life becomes this meditation. Not that you're not engaging in all of the different things, but there's always that witness. There's always that detached awareness that is going on kind of in the background, that's seeing everything, which again goes back to turning the subjective into the objective. And again, finishing my paradox, the more awareness that you develop, paradoxically, the more your subject begins to expand, because you'll actually start to recognize like the connection of all of the things that seem like they're outside of you. Even if you just think of the air that you're breathing in, is that really something outside of you, or is that just a part of you? Like, could you be here without the air? And like the food that you eat, is that really something outside of you, or is that something that is a part of you? The earth, the solar system, the galaxy, the universe, it continues to expand and expand through that process. So simultaneously, the more you grow your awareness, the more your sense of self begins to expand, while at the same time, which is your subject, your sense of self, your subject, begins to expand, while at the same time your ability to maintain the objectivity, the detached awareness, grows. So at the same time, you simultaneously become more and more of it until you become all of it, while you're simultaneously becoming less and less of it, or none of it. So really the whole practice is becoming so much of everything that you realize that you are none of it. You are everything to know that you are none of it. It's a little bit of a deeper concept, but that's why we're here. I made these videos to not like sugarcoat or kind of, only brush the surface of things. These are meant to take deeper dives into things, because this is the important shit. This is the shit that, if you really practice and you really kind of understand and like take it in and understand it, turn it to a knowing through the practice, through your experience, this shit will change everything. That's a promise. If you do the work, it's a promise. Okay? All right, turning the subjective into the objective. So once you do that, then you're able to actually start to see like what's going on. So like all your thoughts and everything that you kind of identify with throughout the day, they now become part of this objective experience. Just like you can hold something out here, you can kind of like hold your thoughts in your mind to see them. Like, oh, there's that thing. Like, oh, there's that story. Oh, there's that thought. And the cool thing is once you then start to see them, you can then start to question them, and you can then start to change them. Because if it's just part of your experience, part of who you identify with, part of what you identify with, then you're not really in a place to change and to question it, because you're not really seeing it. So you got to be able to see it so that you can change it. You got to turn what is subjective into the objective. All right? And so now we're moving into step 3. So step 1, meditation, grow your awareness. Step 2, turn the subjective into the objective. Step 3 is now to recognize your potential of what you actually are. Because the goal here is we want to start to be able to shift our thoughts and to change our thoughts and to change our focus. But all of that is going to be predicated on, 1, actually being able to see what's going on to change it, and then 2, having a knowing of what we actually are, what our potential actually is. Because if you have certain beliefs about yourself, about what you're capable of, your potential, you know, things that you just might be holding on to from what society has told you, what your parents told you, childhood shit, all kinds of stories that kind of make up who we say that we are, who we think that we are. And so if all those stories are continuing to run our lives, and a saying that I heard, I think I was from studying Alex Ramosi, I don't think he said it, but he quoted it. He's, like we're taught to question everything except the things that we really believe in, then those we never question. So there's like layers of beliefs, and that's why, getting deeper and deeper into the awareness of what's going on, because, we might question one layer of things, we might grow and be able to question one layer of things, but that one layer of things is actually built on another layer of beliefs and another layer of stories, which is then built on another layer of stories. That's why a lot of my work and a lot of my studies go into digging down to the roots, to the main principles that everything else is built upon. Because if you can make changes at the root level, then that cascades into all of the other levels. But if you're just making changes at the surface, then everything going on at the root is still going to show, and it's still going to work its way back up. Just like like a weed, if you just cut the top off of the weed, and you're like, okay, good, it just grows right back because you didn't do anything to the root. But if you go down and dig into the root, take the root out, now it's actually gone. Now you can change it. So you need to recognize your potential. And this is something, honestly, it's not something I can just sit here and tell you, and like you might understand it intellectually, but it's something that has to be known. And in my experience, the only way to that is through the process of meditation, and in conjunction with, honestly, like part of my journey has been plant medicines like mushrooms and ayahuasca. Those have helped me to really have more of those direct experiences, that direct knowing. But that's not something I recommend until you've got a foundation of the meditation, because the meditation acts as like your, like kind of a training to allow you to maintain your centeredness, to be able to handle those deeper experiences, those more intense experiences that might come about plant medicines, and then really get the full benefit of it. Because again, you can only go so far from the level that you're currently at without like breaking yourself. So if you're able to kind of chip away and get a little deeper on your own, then you can use the plant medicines as like little accelerator points in different areas of your life. But those are powerful tools that you need to know what you're doing with. Okay? But really, it comes down to recognizing that you are all of it. Just like I talked about, the more your awareness grows, the more you simultaneously become all of it and none of it at the same time. And so recognizing that truly your potential is limitless because you are limitless, because you are the universe, and the universe is limitless because anything that has been and can be, it all exists as a potential right here and right now. I mean, even the concept of time is an illusion based on this physical reality that we're experiencing, when really all there is just right here, right now. Like eternity is right here, right now. And so essentially you are everything, because everything is all there is. And simultaneously you are none of it, because there's no thing. The only way to have everything is to have no thing. Everything works in complementary opposites to make this experience possible. Hot, cold, day, night, light, dark, yin, yang. Okay, and underneath that is the foundation for which all that can be built upon, which is the kind of the no thingness that allows for the everythingness. Again, this is deeper shit that honestly it just needs to be something that is experienced, but you can at least have the idea to start to play with. But knowing that you are everything, knowing that potential is limitless, that gives you permission, that gives you the opportunity to then be able to shift your awareness, which now moves into step 4, is to shift your thoughts, to shift your stories into stories that more align with who you say you want to be. If you give yourself permission to be whatever you want to be, then, and you have the awareness to see your current stories, your current thoughts, which lead to the actions and the results that you get in your life, you know, the external mirroring your internal. If you can see all of these, and you know that your potential is limitless, you can change your stories to match your potential. Because that's all that, you know, all your experience is really just a reflection of all the different beliefs that you are holding on to consciously and unconsciously. And so again, the more you grow your awareness, the more what is normally unconscious can become conscious. Again, the subjective objective. I keep saying the same things because it's like these things need repetition to really sink in. And so it becomes a daily, like really moment to moment practice of seeing the thoughts, seeing the stories, seeing the beliefs, seeing the perspectives, and then asking yourself, you know, the questions become very important here because answers are implicit in the questions. So asking yourself, you know, is that really true? I noticed this story going on, like I'm an idiot, or I'm not good at that, or I could never do that, or, you know, that person, that's good for them, but that's not me. All these stories going on that, we say those things to ourselves, and we don't even realize that we're just putting this limit on ourselves. When we see that, you can ask yourself, is that really true? And knowing that your potential is limitless, well, at the very least, there's the potential that I can be really good at that, or I can be the best at that. There's a potential that all this shit happens easily without me really having to try so hard. You know, there's a potential that everything is going to work out exactly the way that it's supposed to, and I don't need to worry about a damn thing. And there's a potential that even though I didn't necessarily have a plan for this to go this way, it's happening exactly how it's supposed to happen. There's a potential for that. There's always a potential. And so you can choose to live into that potential. You can choose to tell yourself the story to align to that potential. And again, that goes back to questioning everything. And I'm going to tell you this tool, and it's a very powerful tool, but you may not necessarily realize the implications of it yet, but I'm still going to give it to you. So when it comes to questioning, when it comes to like getting answers in life, remember, answers actually come first. We're taught to believe we question and then we get answers, but really get the answer first, meaning what is the potential that you want? What do you want? That's the answer. And then ask yourself the right question to get that answer. So it's really not about what's the answer. It's about what's the right question to give me the answer that I'm looking for. So again, that's a powerful tool. Use it. So lastly, going into step 5 here is then just training your focus. So again, all these steps build on one another. And so the process of training your focus is really just going back to my initial story about the oh well, is being able to build this tool bag of different ways to reorient yourself whenever you notice that you are tending to kind of live out these self-limiting stories, or you're tending to focus on things that are basically causing you to limit yourself, causing you to go against, who you say that you want to be, move out of alignment with who you know you have the potential to be. And one of those is just as simple as gratitude, because you really can't be afraid and grateful at the same time. It's really hard to be angry and grateful at the same time. And one thing with emotions, real quick, is a lot of our emotions are a product of the meaning that we give to things. Again, if we're like, this person did this thing to me, and you feel attacked, that is going to bring about this sense of anger. But if you're like, oh, this person, is acting out their own story and I feel compassionate for them, then now you're coming from this place of love. And the circumstances were the exact same, but the meaning that you gave it is completely different. And that changes everything. And that changes how you respond to it, or how you react to it. Okay, so a little thing on meaning, which again goes back to the focus. Because if you notice the story coming up that then makes you feel attacked by some other person, or what you think they did to you, or whatever the example is, then you're going to basically live that out. And what you believe in, you make be live. And so if you can change your focus, even in that, those simple, that's all it is, those little moments that can change everything. Those little moments where you're like, oh, what can I be grateful for right now? What's going right now? Because as much as we like to focus on what's going wrong, and what you focus on grows. What you put energy into grows. So if you continue to put energy into the things that you don't want, those things are going to keep growing and growing and growing. And it's tough because we get addicted to our own suffering. I mean, think about the people that you know, or maybe it's you, that's like there's always some kind of problem. Like there's never is everything just like going great. There's always something going wrong. There's always some kind of problem. And it's like, if you ever talk to these people, then you try to give them answers. They don't want answers, because it's like, then their identity and their whole way of living, if they actually solve their problems, which is really just as simple as shifting their awareness and shifting their focus, they don't want to solve the problems, because then they don't know who they are without problems, and that can be scary. So again, this process of changing your focus and choosing the meaning that you give to things becomes this daily, again, moment to moment practice, which goes all the way back to the awareness again. Because if you don't see what's going on, then you're not going to be able to be in a position to change it, and to see it, and to choose your focus. And so this is like, even with me, when I notice different emotions coming up, or different self-doubt, things like that, because they're always there. We always experience these things. And it's not like trying to get rid of all of this stuff where everything's happy and everything's great all the time. It's noticing and then making choices. Because when I notice those things, I don't try to like get rid of them, but I notice, okay, what am I focusing on that is causing these stories to surface, or causing these different emotions to surface? Now, can I choose to focus on something else? Because as I was saying, what's wrong is always available, and so is what's right. And you can choose to focus on either one. You can focus on what's going wrong and make that grow, or you can choose on focus on what's going right and make that grow. It's a choice. So in those moments, you can choose to, okay, what's going right in my life right now? What am I grateful for right now? What kind of story do I want to live out and create right now? What potential do I want to live into right now? And that's the power that we all have. We may not necessarily be able to control everything that's going on around us, but you always have control over what you choose to focus on and the meaning that you give to things. And that is the art of becoming unfuckwithable. The art of growing your equanimity. So no matter what life is throwing at you, you're always able to maintain and operate from that centered place. And this is truly, if you want to talk about, everlasting happiness, this is where it's at. Because again, happiness isn't like this state of, everything's going great, everything's perfect, and I feel amazing all the time. It's in the midst of all the inevitable chaos and all the different things going on in life, I'm still maintaining my centeredness and my groundedness, and I'm always choosing my focus. I'm always choosing to focus on what I'm grateful for, the things that are going right in my life. I'm choosing to focus on the stories that are aligned with who I say I want to be, who I know I have the potential to be. And that makes all the difference. So just a little recap here. I know I've kind of recapped multiple times, but just a big overall recap. So becoming unfuckwithable, growing your awareness and training your focus. So step 1 is meditation, grow your awareness. Step 2 is turn the subjective into the objective so that you can change it. Step 3, open to your potential. Know that your potential is limitless so that you can better align your stories to your potential. And then step 4 is choosing those stories that align to your potential. And then step 5 is training your focus. So choosing what you focus on and choosing the meaning that you give to things. All right? And that's how you do it. That's what I got for y'all. So your homework is 1, and I talked about this in the last module, but I'm going to say it again, is continue or start your gong, which is a gong is 100 days straight of your meditation practice. And like I said, ideally 20 minutes is ideal, but any minutes or any time is better than no time. So every single day for 100 days straight. If you miss a day, you got to start back at day 1. Because once you get to that 100-day point, that's like a huge milestone in your own development. And honestly, you'll be a completely different person if you can commit to 20 minutes of daily practice for 100 days straight. So that's number 1. Number 2 is questions. So get in the practice, begin the practice of questioning everything, even the things that you never think to question, especially question those and ask yourself, is that really true? Is there a potential for something different? And knowing now that there's always a potential. And then lastly is gratitude. So you can always choose what you focus on. So whenever you find yourself in those moments where you find yourself focusing on all the things that aren't going right, choose gratitude. Choose to find things to be grateful for. Even simple as like, I'm here. I'm grateful for the challenges in my life because they help me grow. Anything. We're just shifting that awareness, shifting that focus. So that's what I got for you. Gong, questions, and gratitude. So I hope this was helpful for you. And if you found it resourceful, if you got some benefit from this, I would love it if you could share it to anybody, everybody, because if you got value from this, then that means somebody else will probably get value from this. And if you practice this stuff and it changes your life, then somebody else could potentially have that transformation as well. And so we want to get this out to as many people as possible. So if you could help me to help us all grow so that we can create a better life and a better experience for us all, and really to, initiate and continue this movement that is ultimately going to help us save the planet in a real sense, and to create more love and abundance for us all, then that would be amazing. All right, I'll talk to you guys next time. Thank you for tuning in, and remember, the journey is the way. This is Nathan Barna signing out. Love you all. Peace.